What I want to talk to today is that the consumer on the web is spending a lot of time on Google and Facebook and iTunes and other properties and they don't necessarily differentiate between a web-wide property and your website when thinking about user experience issues and when trying to decide whether or not to leave your site. And so if we look at the way that the user expectations evolve over time from what these folks are doing and keep those top of mind, we can help to reduce site abandonment, increase conversion rates, and delight the visitor so they keep coming back and keep buying more stuff. So I think of particular importance here is obviously Google, but in terms of time online, Facebook has passed all of these in terms of how many minutes per day are gobbled up productively Facebooking. So I think that ends up setting a lot of expectations and trying to, you can't keep up with them, but there are some things that you can do to try to keep in mind what they're doing with your visitors' expectations. So think about the evolution of web search. Both George and Adam talked about how it used to be 10 blue links and a couple of ads, and Google has clearly evolved well past that. They've added images, they've added universal search, 2007, where you've got news for news-oriented queries. They know what the news-oriented queries are and embed those in there. Images about that same query, videos right on the search results page, competing with what used to be publishers. You can now get a lot of that content directly from Google. Autocomplete here with a single query, we've got opportunities to go straight to the San Diego Zoo, check in, but you can never leave. You can decide, you know, what sports teams you want to go to, and this is all from a 4 keystroke query SAN space. Real-time search where Twitter and other content that's real-time is showing up. This is a query for golf, and the Yahoo results come back contextually relevant for the time frame. This slide happened to have been shot right after the Masters, and because of that, on the Monday after the Masters, the score came up, the Bubba Watson came up, albatross came up. Somebody shot an albatross. Louis Oosthuizen, or I can't pronounce that. He was up there in contention, and that is the number, 2 or 3 property, not Google. They're giving you, the visitor, very relevant information and changing their expectations of what they get when they get to your site. Google Instant, where they're changing the search results as you type, certainly changes visitors' expectations. Showing instant previews on the right, adding better search experiences for mobile devices. Here's a mobile experience for an individual website. Voice search from Siri, continued innovation. Among the continued innovation is knowledge graph. How many of you have seen knowledge graph showing up on the search results page on Google? So I hadn't seen it very much. You? Anybody interacted with it? Spend any time clicking through to the basic idea behind knowledge graph is that a little bit of real estate is dedicated to answering the question and exposing facts from Wikipedia, from the CIA. Interesting that that's a factual source, but the CIA fact book about different countries, if you search for Libya or Korea, they've got content about that. And Google's bringing that right into the search results and saving you the trouble of going to a publisher or other source of facts. Now, publishers are freaking out about this because now Google's competing for real estate and potentially cutting back on their revenue. But the point isn't so much that that feature came along, but that there will be another feature in 2 weeks and another feature in a month, and that the web search engines have a mission to continue to delight their visitors. And as they do that, it'll change expectations of what people want when they get to your site. And so one of the ways to kind of bridge that gap is to not separate web search people from user experience people. It's all one continuum, and the things that the paid search and SEO people are experiencing is important to bring back into the user experience, and it is important to bring back into the ongoing evolution of the design of your site. So that, I could stop now, but I wanted to kind of go into a little bit more about how user experiences and user expectations have evolved over time. One thing to keep in mind is that a lot of people search first, and if they can't find it, if they're searchers and they can't find it, they won't buy it. And if they're truly searchers, sort of behaviorally, they won't navigate. So oftentimes people wonder, I got them to my homepage, I've got a great big hero image about free shipping or whatever is the deal of the day. How come they search for free shipping and deal of the day or the name of the product? It's because they don't see your promotions. Visitors have a fairly clear pattern of browsing a website, and one of the things that they don't do is absorb large images. That's not universally true, but the more obvious you try to make it, oftentimes the less people see it. So they're searching on the web and getting good results. They'd like to get that from your site. About 43% of visitors search within the course of a session with the website. Not an individual visit, but if you look at monthly unique visitors across most e-commerce sites, about 43% of unique visitors will use the search box. Typically, 30% of page views within a site is related to searching. People who search on a site are far more likely to convert. How many of you have looked into the stats in GA or Omniture to determine, to segment site search visitors versus the rest of the audience? So we've seen something like 3 times as great a conversion rate in certain cases. So you can also understand the visitor's language by watching what people are searching for, basically mining the text that they're adding to the search box. If I search for podium light and click on this thing, I've described it as a podium light. If I search for, you know, keyboard or laptop light, I've described it too, by virtue of making the connection between my search term and what I click through to. And if you do that in volume, you end up creating a lot of insights about what people describe products and other content with. So the search box is kind of a window into how the consumer thinks about things and the kinds of words that they use to describe it. We typically see a pretty broad variety of keywords used within a site, thousands and thousands of terms, even if a site only has a few hundred items. Google is finding, what is it, something like 30% of new, each day 30% of the search terms they experience on their site are new. So it's an amazing to think about stuff that's never been searched before will be searched for, you know, in a minute. So I want to talk a little bit about effective site search. You only have a little bit of time to capture people, to capture their interest, and to start to fulfill their expectations before they leave. Of course, if you've paid money through paid search to get them to your site, you don't want them to leave. Please stay. Please don't go. So one of the key things is to have a ubiquitous search box that's everywhere on the site, that's in the same place wherever you are on the site. Most online retailers have focused on putting that in the upper right-hand corner. Is anybody who puts their search box in the upper right-hand corner of your site-wide sign? Anybody not put it there? Anybody put it in the middle or left? Okay. Seems to be kind of split. Anybody not put it in the top of your site-wide navigation? Okay. So any particular reason that decision was made? Want people to focus on your promotions? So his input was to test where it works best, and I definitely concur with that. If you've got visitors who are not responding to where the search box is placed or how big it is, try something different. So these folks put it in the upper right-hand corner. They gave text to say what people could search for products or help here. this shoe site said site search examples, and they gave several different examples of what people might search for to just prompt them as to what they might look for. This is a supplement site, enter keyword or item number. People might know what the item number is because they've already got it and they want another bottle of it, and that can save them time. And if they search for an item number, skip the search results and send them straight to the product page. You'll probably do that with catalog quick order. Give folks an autocomplete. This is Green Mountain Coffee, and they've got, as soon as I've started typing one character, they start to display options, and that ends up helping people cut down on typographical errors, help get to the solution more quickly, and it helps to surface things that your site carries. Autocomplete is essentially a tool for increasing average order value and keeping visitors happier. We blow it up. Another thing that started to become fairly prominent, and the first place I saw this was on iTunes, was this idea of a rich autocomplete. So not just search terms, but products that match the search, match the character. So with a single keystroke, we've got half a dozen search terms and a similar number of products. And if I click through to these products, I go straight to a product detail page. I skip the search experience entirely. Clients who have deployed this stuff, this rich autocomplete, have seen that the people who interact with this have a 17% higher average order value. So it's not necessarily causing the higher average order value, it's not necessarily causing the conversion lift, but what you can say is that the people who are most engaged with your site are more likely to use this, and having this present, these features present versus not having it present on an A/B basis clearly makes a difference, clearly helps you make more money, and going back to the earlier theme, it clearly sort of brings you into the 20th century in terms of having comparable functionality to the web-wide properties like Facebook and Google. So the idea that people who search more buy more was behind the idea that this particular website had in terms of trying to get the search tool more ubiquitously available. And what they did was basically create a little bit of HTML that stayed at the top of the browser, and as people interacted with the site, it stays at the very top of the browser. So wherever they are scrolling a long product detail page or scrolling at a category navigation page, they can change their minds and do a keyword search. These folks, not a real big company, but they're part of The Knot, which is a bridal magazine and a collection of e-commerce sites. By making that feature ubiquitously available, they had a per visit value increase of 24%, which is, that's clearly material. They definitely wanted to keep doing that. So relevance ranking is very important, having the most relevant items showing up. One of the techniques that we've perfected is to basically watch what people click through to. So if you think about this site, it's a candy site, they sell chocolate. Which chocolate should I show first out of 1,063 items that have the term chocolate? Well, this one at least is the most popular for that phrase. It was originally down in position 448, but because a lot of people have clicked through to it, we've automatically moved it up to the top. So using similar techniques to kind of take into account user behavior, post-search user behavior, and seeing where people go can help to improve the relevance of your experience. So how can we help customers navigate? I mean, navigation as separate from keyword search. We sort of think of keyword search as one product finding method and navigation as the other one. But a lot of people think of navigation as refining by facets, as Adam was talking about, where you've refined by category or subcategory. So what I'm talking about here is that if you have well-structured content which has brands and categories and subcategories and sizes and colors and other attributes, giving your visitors the ability to refine by those choices can help you let people choose what they're shopping for more quickly. But test first, because we've seen examples where folks are given a dozen or more options to refine their selection during navigation, and conversion goes down because, I'm guessing because people are sort of overwhelmed by choice. So this middle suggestion to make every valid combination of facets be a landing page, I would kind of come to that with a grain of salt, especially as Adam was talking about, if you don't have the proper URL structure, you create too many links in Google and they punish people who sort of spam them with too many refinement options. So another thing that can help visitors is seeing terms that are related to what you're searching for. You can see this at Bing and Google. If you search for a keyword or phrase, they'll often present the visitor not just with search completion, autocomplete options, but on the search results page itself, they'll show related topics and related search terms so that people can disambiguate their query. Here's an example at another flower site where the terms, the search term was lilies, pluralized, and they've got similar terms, lilies misspelled, calla lily singular, etc. So these terms are all basically related to the keyword, and similar things are available down at the. I've got to point it there. Down at the more like this level next to the product itself, calla lily and memorable. Those are terms that other visitors have used to find that particular product, and that just sort of, by doing that automatically, you end up giving visitors a sense of how other people have found it and how other people have described that thing. Here's an example of how one candy site, jellybelly.com, uses refinements. Not only are they using the typical category, but also what kind of container does it come in and what color or colors does it come in, but also things like taste. It turns out that these guys don't have taste as an attribute in their product data, but they've extracted taste from their visitors' ratings and reviews. They've asked them to give it 4-star, 5-star, and in the course of that, they've asked them, what does it taste like? And people have described things as fruity or tropical or tasting like ice cream. So it's a user-generated attribute, basically, and making that an option by which people can refine things. So these folks did a test and had more refinement options available and found that it kind of confused people, so they're keeping it simple. Color is a key refinement choice for these folks because a lot of Jelly Bellies are sold in conjunction with weddings because they make a great favor, and the most important thing in a wedding is that it matches the color scheme, apparently. Purple, in case you're wondering, or green. You got to have the ability for people to sort the results. These folks let people sort by rating. How many of you have video content on your e-commerce site? Yeah? They're videoing this session here, and I think RKG is going to use this video for SEO purposes. So video present on your website, as you know, delights the visitor and helps them make a decision, especially about a considered purchase. The presence of video on a website also is a clear signal to Google that your site is cool and with it and should be ranking higher in organic listings. So what do you do with all that video content within the site, and how do people find it? So that is the challenge for a lot of folks, that they can only really show a product video if somebody gets down to the product detail page, and that's where the link back to the video exists. So one of the things that we've seen work to increase video views is to make it more available through navigation and site search. These folks are not exactly a retailer, but they have a lot of retail brick and mortar presence. Do they have them in Virginia? Do they have 24-hour fitness in Virginia, or are you more of a 12-hour fitness kind of a place? You look great. For 1 hour, that's fantastic. Okay, I apologize. They're based in the Bay Area, and they're all over the place. There are almost as many of these as there are Starbucks. And so they found that video content was really compelling for their community, and their goal is to try to create a community of people around an individual gym, even if the people are home and offline. So they wanted to create more video views, and one of the ways they did that was to embed video as a choice within the search results. The original query was workout music, and here's videos that mention workout music. These happen to mostly be YouTube, but still the idea is to make that content readily available. And notice that they also have other tabs available, including social networks. I'll show you an example of that in a second, but it's an interesting idea to basically not just make the search be about product search, but if you have other non-product content on an e-commerce site, it's there for a reason. Hopefully it's there to help you sell or help to inform your visitors, so make it available to people who happen to turn to that search box, especially since about half of people will search first. So, we have a pop-up of Les Mills. Lots of bullet points. Ajax is great. Does anybody disagree? Has SEO problems, but you know, it's a nice, smooth experience. So this is an example of how a British cataloger named Bowden, which also operates here in the US, uses ratings and reviews as refinements to their shoppers. So they've not only letting people see how many what the average rating is right next to the product in the results, but also what the attributes are of the people who've reviewed the product. So they show the top rated by people that are under 20 years old, where the review count is less than 20. You might want to see the ones that have 60 to 80 reviews. You might want to refine by people that are my age. So that's user-generated attributes, again, like I was describing with Jelly Belly, where they're actually mining that data that they've got as part of their ratings and reviews. In this case, they are using Power Reviews, but the same thing is possible with Bazaar Voice or your own homegrown review system. And by using these things, they're giving visitors more confidence in the fact that other people liked it, which can definitely help conversion. So try as we might, as much good work as we all do, eventually the stupid user is going to search for something that we don't have, or they've going to search for it wrong, or use a term that's not in the index. And having a good quality no results page that shows people what other things they might search for can really make a difference. And showing things that are currently popular. For this site, at the time that this slide was shot, Hello Kitty was popular, and so was Lady Gaga. It's kind of an odd juxtaposition of their teenage demographic. And giving visitor the ability to refine by A, B, C, D, etc. Another example of this is to show a tag cloud treatment. So the search term was shirts with an X. Here's a bunch of other things that you might want to search for. I talked a little bit a moment ago about 24-Hour Fitness and their use of social media within their site. So, yep, they're cool, they're on Facebook, they're cool, they're on Twitter. But here, how do I bring that content into the site itself? In this case, yarn.com, which is a knitting, a site for selling knitting gear, has a whole bunch of social content available out on YouTube and Facebook. Here they've brought it into their search results page so that people can see that there's Twitter content and YouTube content and Facebook content available that's from their community. This isn't looking at all of Facebook for the phrase, whatever that phrase is. It's just looking at their Twitter stream and their YouTube channel and their Facebook fan pages. So it's narrowly looking at the content that's about them, but still embracing social within their site. And if you click through to this, you're back on Facebook. Hopefully you're going to get some more likes out of that. Another example of that 1-800-Flowers should borrow is to embed Facebook likes on a product detail page level or on a search results page level. So this item, although it's in the second position has 381 likes versus this item that only has 90 likes. And that's kind of like ratings and reviews. It's a signal that other people like this thing, which tends to put people's minds at ease. Measure what works, of course, and find out what doesn't and stop it. We've got experience with doing things like measuring the ratio of people that search versus the people that exit and trying to make that ratio go down over time. Trying to figure out what percentage of searchers are getting 0 results and for which terms, and then fixing that. An example of that 0 results problem was at a client of ours called Harry and David, and we discovered in their data that people were searching for jam and jelly and getting no results or getting just recipes. And so we talked to them about it, and they said that is completely understandable because they didn't sell jam, they didn't sell jelly. The only thing that they had that was even vaguely like that was preserves. And so people were not finding it because they didn't carry it. And we pointed out that the public wanted jam, and they should change their copy to reflect that. And when they did that, they sold $1,500 worth of jam the next day, or preserves. So they know the difference between jam and jelly, but if your visitors don't, make the content work for the visitor. So one way to sort of do analytics in such a way that you'll actually make more money from it is to try an A/B or multivariate test of one version of a navigation page or a search page against another, and do a split test of that. This is just a snapshot of what that experiment looked like. And the experiment was to show a list view with a lot of text versus grid view with a more prominent image and more items above the fold. And the actual results of the test are that grid view underperformed by a little bit. But over a lot of traffic, over a long period of time, it's enough to make a difference. We've seen other experiments, for instance, taking an extra feature on a search results page that maybe gives people a pop-up view or a quick view, and we've seen those kinds of features, in certain cases, distracting the visitor and reducing conversion. But if you don't test it, you'll never know. You can test things like how big is the buy button, should there be a buy button. We saw an experiment in which somebody had a buy now or add to cart button on their search results page, and making a very direct marketing 101, give the shopper a call to action. It had a 10% worse conversion rate to have an add to cart button on the search results page. Scared people away maybe, who knows. So it's fairly easy to test these things, so we'd encourage people to test. Here's some resources that I'd suggest. We've got our own video, which we have for SEO purposes and because it's useful. We've got a couple of ebooks that we've written about this. I forgot to put the URL on here, but there's e-commerce podcast, which features such notables as George Mickey and other industry luminaries. So that's something that we keep putting out every couple, 3 weeks, add a new podcast. If you'd like to participate, you get a nice link out of it. Really appreciate the invitation, and thanks to the RKG team for setting this up, and hopefully this was useful. Be happy to take any questions.
So if you kind of looked at like the last 10 clients that you worked with, and maybe there was 1 or 2 of them that really picked up on something that maybe a lot of other people would not have thought about before.
Great question. So recently we've seen this idea of bringing social into the conversation at an earlier stage coming forward. We've had clients have us put Pinterest buttons on the search results page to try to encourage more pinning. And that's, who would have thought of that 3 months ago? This idea of embedding a Facebook like is a relatively recent phenomenon, and the ability to sort items by most liked. I think that more and more e-commerce sites in the last 3 or 4 months are embracing the non-product content that they're creating. You know, everybody's telling them to get past Panda and other Google algorithm changes. They have to have unique and original content, and if that content is only for SEO purposes, it doesn't work. And Adam could tell you this, but if it's only for the search engines, it's not for visitors, and therefore it's not useful. So one of the ways to make that content useful is to make it accessible, make people interact with it, give them the option to find it. And so that appearance of articles and blogs and other non-product content alongside, suitably alongside products, can help you sell more stuff. And so I've seen a lot of that. Excellent. All right, well, thanks everybody.